Well, you're not reading the introduction because according to
I did read it.
in the introduction, it says that there are scholars who say that Ibn Ishaq reported worthless sayings from people.
Okay, so if you watch this whole discussion or debate or whatever you want to call it with Sam Shamoun, I clearly said that Ibn Ishaq is not reliable according to Muslim scholars. So if you read the beginning of Ibn Ishaq's book, if you read page 35 to 36, I believe, it says there are scholars who said that Ibn Ishaq was reporting worthless sayings from people, and that these worthless sayings are just that, worthless. They're not binding on any kind of Muslim. So Shamoun was trying to show that that Ibn Ishaq said that John the Apostle wrote the Gospel of John, but the problem is that Ibn Ishaq was just writing down anything he heard from anybody. He wasn't doing any kind of fact checking. So this is the general problem with Ibn Ishaq. He was just writing anything he heard from anybody. Thus, the biography, most of the biography is unreliable because of this problem with Ibn Ishaq just writing down anything you would hear from anybody without fact checking who was reporting it to him and whether the person reporting it to him was trustworthy or not. Because not everybody was trustworthy back in the time of Ibn Ishaq, when Ibn Ishaq was writing. So this is just one of the glaring examples of the reading comprehension problem Sav Shamoun suffers, and not just him. I mean, to be fair, I'm not going to single him out. David Wood, Robert Spencer, other critics of Islam who use Ibn Ishaq, this is their problem. They're not reading the beginning of that book because there are early Muslim scholars who said that Ibn Ishaq was reporting worthless sayings from people, and he was reporting stories or sayings without any kind of sources or chain of transmission. So, I have Ibn Hisham's book. So he was talking about Ibn Hisham. I have the book, and the book doesn't have what Sam Shamoun was talking about. So this is just one of the many examples of Sam Shamoun being dishonest and not actually reading what he's quoting, or not reading properly what he's quoting. You have to be very cautious reciting or citing Ibn Ishaq, because a lot of times his sources don't have any, or his stories or sayings don't have any kind of sources in them, according to even early Muslim scholars themselves. So this is one of the major issues why I cannot take these critics seriously, because they don't know what they're quoting. And even when they quote it, they don't know if they're quoting authentic sources or inauthentic sources. In this case, Ibn Ishaq is not a authentic, or Ibn Ishaq is not a reliable source to learn about the Prophet Muhammad and the early Muslims, etc. Ibn Hisham is, but we can still use Ibn Ishaq to put the Prophet Muhammad's life in chronological order. And there are some stories and sayings which are authentic in that book, because sometimes he does cite sources, his sources sometimes, but most of the time he doesn't do so. So we can use Ibn Ishaq to build a chronological order of the Prophet Muhammad's life, from the beginning of the Prophet Muhammad's ministry to the end of the Prophet Muhammad's ministry. But the stories in between, not all of them are authentic according to Muslim scholars, early Muslim scholars themselves. So just be aware of what these Christians quote, because most of the time they're going to be quoting from Ibn Ishaq or the history of Al-Tabari without really understanding what they're reading or what they're citing. So just beware of this issue with these Christian apologists when they quote from these weak sources to badmouth the Prophet Muhammad or show the Prophet Muhammad in doing bad things, etc. It's most of the time, not always, but most of the time, it's coming from Ibn Ishaq or the history of Al-Tabari. So beware of this tactic that they use in order to attack Islam and the Prophet Muhammad. Stay tuned, more videos coming up ahead.